sounds that only certain patrons get to hear.
Ooh.
What are those?
All
Is
right.
that the background? La pele, la pele, la pele from last week's
We
top
are
10?
we
That's
are
the immaculate
live.
sounds they get.
We are live and ready to go. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Magic Mike's, proudly sponsored by our Patreon supporters and CoolStuffInc.com, where you can find cool stuff in stock every day. I am Evan Irwin, and we begin each week by saying hello to my two co-hosts, Aaron Campbell,
Hola.
Ruben Bressler.
Oh, howdy. How we doing?
Hey, buddy, how's the Bresslers?
They're doing great. They're
doing-
perky as usual.
Okay, good perks. What we need. That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Perky wrestlers. Always.
Yeah, no saggy wrestlers here.
That's
Nobody
right.
likes saggy wrestlers.
And we had, last week I think we had a legitimate man, what are we supposed to say? And we even took a few questions from people who are watching us live. You had a little Q&A.
Not this week.
This week we have literally infinite things to talk about. Wizards has screwed it up. Wizards has done it right. Wizards has thrown things in the air and hope they stick to walls. It's crazy. It's wild. But we have to begin, as we do, with a giveaway, which also lets me announce a product that is launching officially tonight, which is essentially the Chaos Draft Boxes 2.0. We now have 3 flavors of Chaos Draft Box
That's fantastic.
that you can choose from, because let me tell you, the response was ridiculous, and
Yeah.
I was like, okay, how do we do this? Well, not necessarily just kind of copying and pasting what happened before. We have a bronze box for only $12, and you have the chance of opening Modern Masters 2015, 2017, and Innistrad. We have a silver box for $17.99 that guarantees you a rare pack, and we have a gold box that not only gives you all the normal stuff, it gives you lands, and you can open a box of Revised. And you can see the box of Revised that we opened today on my Twitter account at Mr. Orange. I did film it. We're going to make a little video. You guys can check it out. Like, we actually, I got to open a box of Revised, which is in itself pretty cool.
Pretty good. That's pretty insane.
Anybody pulled the plastic off a Revised box? Like, that's a thing I can now just check off the list. And so we wanted to give away or at least I did. I wanted to give away a full play set of the bronze Chaos Draft Boxes. I'm going to give you 8 of them, so you and 7 of your best friends can go play in the Chaos Draft Box thing. We have multiple options. We got a bunch of them. This should be good for a while. I'm really excited about it. I hope you guys like it. It's really awesome when you make a thing and it goes even better than you had hoped.
Right. Yeah. I mean, kudos to you for inventing something that was an immediate hit. We got on that filming for top 10 this week, and you were like, they're already sold out. And we're like, what? So yeah, good job, kid. You did it.
Thanks, buddy. Good. It feels good. It's really nice. Yes, they can be shipped all over the world as far as I know, unless there's some weird shipping restrictions or whatever with sealed products. I don't know. The point is, we have our new Chaos Draft Boxes. They're super sweet. I put the links to the contest. I want to give away 8 of them. You can go check out the actual page where we have all of them up. They're available to purchase right this second. Super excited about it. Okay. So where do we begin this week with the first pick? Wizards, sometimes they punt so hard, it makes me wonder, where were the decisions and what exactly were they thinking? And it's been approached from a few different angles, but let's get to the story. The story is on Sunday, not Monday through Friday. And again, Wizards is like, hey, we print stuff all the time, and it has to get to certain people and WPN networks and whatever. It's just so happened that this ridiculously huge announcement that will affect FNM forever shows up on a Sunday. Just saying, that's weird, but okay. It turns out that as of October 6th, FNM will now have double-sided tokens instead of custom promos. The standard showdowns are officially going to happen as a thing. They're going to move to weekends, and they're going to feature foil basic lands, custom foil basic lands in those packs that you can only get from those standard showdown packs. And every pack's going to have one. And the first 5 are going to have Rebecca Guay artworks, which is, in and of itself, pretty cool. There's going to be a store championship at the end of each season, which a season is, from set release to set release. It seems weird that the first one is on New Year's Eve, essentially December 30th and 31st is when they can run it. It's going to have Rival of Ixalan promo items, and everyone who plays gets a full art participation promo. That's awesome. Okay, here's why it's terrible. So I understand from what I've read and what I've seen reactions to those reactions is that Wizards is trying to get FNM to be a little bit more casual friendly. The idea that you jump from, hey, I know how to play Magic, to, hey, I'm showing up at FNM and I'm doing things, is sometimes a pretty wide gap. And that's what Corbin Hostler wrote a really sweet article on TCG Player where he kind of went over it. And sort of the professor on Clarion Community College kind of took a different angle where he kind of talked about sort of the nuts and bolts of it and the idea of it and why it was bad. So I wanted to give a few sort of ideas around that. First of all, this seriously just blew my mind at how dumb it felt. And here's why it felt dumb, okay? Here's my number one this is dumb thing, okay? I can make a custom token. Ruben can make a custom token. Cartomajigs has an entire business around it. Every artist now is making all their own custom tokens. Everybody can have custom tokens. No one really cares that much about a custom token versus, hey, I can only get this card at this event if I show up at this place. Okay, that's one. Wizards is the only one who can make those. And I also understand, over the years, heard this from many employees who've been there or have not been there or have left there, that there's often, in Wizards, they feel like they're making too many promos. There's promos all over the place. It's just promo soup. There's promos all the time. They got to promo this and promo that and full art this and full art that. I get it. But you are the only people on the planet who can make them. So when you have your own program that has been running for over 2 decades with history, that has ingrained itself into people's psyche, that has become part of the zeitgeist of Magic, the things that people build their social circles around, this Friday night thing that you do, and you say, I'm just going to just push the plunger and go kerboom and hope these tokens are going to essentially get the sharks out, because that's another big concern of theirs, was always the sharks show up at FNM and no one likes that. And we're going to make sure that there's these double-sided tokens, and we're going to have 3 every season, so there's 1 every month, and that's whatever. But okay, so Corbin Hostler's sort of take on this was from the store level, in that he sees people figure out how to play Magic, they play in some novice leagues, and then they never play in anything ever again, and they never show up again because they don't want to go to FNM. It's too much for them. It's too big of a step. Too many sharks in the water is kind of sort of the feeling there. We need a way to graduate players and whatnot. And here's where I'm sort of going to bounce off the professor, where the professor said, look, if you want to do this thing where you want to put double-sided tokens in FNM, why are you replacing something that is so ingrained as an institution of Magic? Now look, I've made tokens. I understand that there is a cost to them, but there is also a point of investing in your players. If you want these tokens to get into people's hands who aren't very good at Magic, then send them in addition to the FNM promos.
Right.
I get it. It costs more. I get it. It's going to add to shipping costs, and it's going to add to shipping time and all this other stuff, and there's logistics involved in that. I totally understand. But the reason I came up with Game Night was because I couldn't make regular Magic cards. You understand that? That's why Star Series thing has it today, is because I can't do what you can do. I had to make pins and foils and non-foils and all this other stuff of these tokens because I can't do what you can do. And to say I have this power and you just put it on the shelf and you never touch it again is weird to me.
So what you're saying is Smell Snare is your fault?
No, well, ultimately,
I'm choosing to blame you for the inexcusable spell snare.
You can choose to blame me if you like, but it obviously, I started the ball rolling down the hill from that. But the idea of Goose to Saint Draft and whatever, that stuff was because I can't make Magic cards. The reason I have there's super cool metal tokens at the cool stuff pre-release is because I can't make Magic cards. But you can make Magic cards, and you're like, I don't really want to make Magic cards, even though I totally can, and it's my frigging ability to do so.
Yeah.
I'm afraid of what it's going to do to FNM, and this whole point of the FNM promos didn't affect attendance. The professor also noted, hey, first of all, they cherry-picked 2 random promos out of thin air. Okay. Secondly, Wizards doesn't do amazing jobs at promoting what is actually at FNM every single week. That's a thing they could try to do. And lastly, maybe you, instead of cherry-picking a few months in standards that people didn't really like much anyway, or standards that were dying and about to change, you say, let's do for 6 to 12 months amazing promos, see what happens, and maybe if you're looking to invest in these casual players you're trying to get to graduate, then make more of those awesome tokens and just give them away as door prizes or as entry prizes or entry promos or whatever you want to call it. And the last thing before I give it to you guys was Corbin Hosser also said sort of how this standard showdown thing was supposed to work in the middle of it. And it also kind of relates to game night, because when game night first showed up, it was we told the stores they had to run them on Wednesdays. It was essentially like Wednesday Night Magic was this game night thing, and we're seeing the exact same thing from what Corbin said, which is you have to give the stores flexibility. Let them run it on Friday. It's not Friday night standard showdown or whatever, but it's kind of going to end up that way. Sorry, Wizards, spoiler alert. But the point is, you got to give players and stores that flexibility, because we have ingrained in Magic players for over 2 decades that Friday night belongs to MTG. And now you're saying, wait a minute, those who like to actually play competitively,
rework your entire schedule. Yeah,
right. That's not going to happen.
It just isn't going to happen. I mean, for the folks that are watching, I don't know what percentage of them still play FNM. Like, I don't know our audience demographics. My hunch is that the audience demographics for our show are hedging away from FNM audience and more towards what they're hoping standard showdown audience will be, right? More like people who either used to or still go to PTQs, people who are interested in the names of the players that are good at Magic, stuff like that. And to come out, so I have a couple issues. My major issue is the communication, in that they didn't really come out and say FNM is for the graduation program and then Standard Showdown is for the more established players. What they did instead was, hint, hint, wink, wink, the prizes are going to be better at Standard Showdown. So that's where the Sharks should go, because there's more food there. They didn't actually come out and tell us what their hope and what their hopes and dreams were for these two established programs. So that was one issue for me. The other issue for me is it's sort of like a big general thing, which is we still don't have a director of organized play. Yeah. There is nowhere to send feedback. Like, obviously also the other thing is, clearly this would have been the best Red Zone topic if any of us disagreed with Evan. But we're all on the same page. So sorry to rob you of a great Red Zone rant. That one just has to be a first pick rant, because we're all sort of like doing this behind Evan, right? Yeah. So it's just a weird situation. I don't know how they keep doing this to themselves. It's so bizarre.
Aaron?
Yeah, this is something I have felt needs to be done to a certain extent, or something I felt is a long time coming. When I came back to the game very recently. I'm not somebody who's played Magic consistently. I took about a 10-year break from the game, and I came back for Innistrad. And I came from a game like World of Warcraft where everything was very gated. It was like, so you do your 5-man dungeons, then you move on to your 5-man heroics, your 5-person heroics. When you acquired the gear from that, then you move on to the 10-mans, and from the 10-mans you move into the 25-mans. And there was always something to fall back on, where it was like, okay, if I'm not ready for the 25s, I can go back and farm the 10s yet. And one of the things I really struggled with when I came back to Magic was sort of that gap where I was going to FNM, I was bad at the games, I was not doing very well at FNM, and I wanted to get better, so I was going to FNM, getting better at FNM. Finally, I was 4-0ing consistently, and then I would say to the people around me, okay, what's next? And people were like, PTQs, and I was like, okay. And then I went to a PTQ. This is back when they were 200-person PTQs. Right. Get massacred. And then my first response was, okay, well, let me go back and grind something to get better at this. Right. Prepares you for the PTQ scene, for the GP scene. And that was something I experienced when I came back to the game. And so I related a lot to what Corbin specifically was saying in his article, in that, when you go on the mothership, you see these shiny, happy kids that, opened whatever commons they got from their showdown decks. And Wizards tells you that you too can go to Friday Night Magic and have this great experience, when in reality, depending on where you live, your experience is nothing like that. You are most likely going to get massacred. My friend Adrian actually brought up something the other day in regards to net decking. That was another thing that kind of came up earlier in the week. That was another minor scandal. And she was kind of talking about how, and I found common threads here, in that she mentioned that Magic sort of purposely gives you bad decks. Like, they purposely give new players bad decks thinking that them losing is going to make them want to keep playing somehow. And it's a really good thread. If you get a chance, go look at her Twitter. She storyfied it, but she was basically talking about that the really flawed way that Magic tries to get new people to play the game. And you really don't see that more than you do at FNM. Again, the theory of take this $10 deck and get your butt kicked, that's going to make you want to come back. That's not going to make you want to come back to the game. And so, you know, I'm glad that they're attempting to do something, because FNM has sort of suffered from this identity crisis for a while. I'm just not sure that this is really what it is. And Corbin also brought up something really great that you guys didn't really get a chance to touch on. He was talking about how, you know, it was obvious that they might, you know, they talked to focus groups and things of that nature, but it still felt like the engaged players were being told what to do. Yeah. There was no like easing them into this. There was no selling them on the concept. Instead, It was simply, you must do this. And that's why I think it pissed a lot of people off. There was no selling them. It was, they were being dictated to.
Yeah, and they tried this, you know, and they tried the what I would describe as sort of a classic marketing technique of the poop sandwich, which is they began with, hey, store championships. Store championships are great. I love store championships. And then they're like, Friday Night Magic is totally destroyed. We're not going to do that, so, you know, for it again. Yeah. Oh, but this standard showdown is awesome. And look at these sweet Rebecca Guay lands. Look at these shiny pictures. Shiny pictures. Don't worry about FNM. We're not going to talk about this. It's fine. It's just tokens. Whatever. Give a shit.
Right.
So, ultimately, you know, the ability for them to kind of dictate what happens to FNM don't really kind of explain it that much. And when they did try to explain it, it almost came off a little worse, because again, they keep doing this stuff where they're like, but we can't show you the data.
Yeah.
Why not? What are you afraid of?
We'll get to that later in the show.
Which we will, but what
are you
afraid
hiding?
of?
Yeah.
Look, you could even, if you wanted to, show like a line chart and not give the X and Y axis, not even say what it means. Just like, look, this is attendance levels over some period of time that we're not going to tell you, but look how it stays the same no matter what the promo is or whatever. That's fine. Like, show us something. We are smart, analytical people. Not, you know, dumb people do not normally play Magic. We know what's going on.
I don't know about that. I mean,
you know,
burn is a thing.
I know, right? So, no, there's anything wrong with that either. But regardless, the point is, you can't necessarily just tell a Magic player something and not really be able to back it up with information.
Right.
You know,
I'm ready to add another layer to this.
Go ahead.
Are they even going to hire another director of organized play?
Hello.
Wow.
Is that a thing they're interested in doing? Right?
Can you not have one? Like, that seems like something you need. Like,
it sounds like something you need, but like, this is a huge, major decision to make without somebody manning that particular helm, right?
Right.
Like, this feels like. So I'm gonna go off on a sports topic tangent for a second.
Oh God.
It's gonna be real quick. It's gonna be less than a minute. You can pass out.
Let's go.
The New York Knicks fired Phil Jackson and then didn't trade Carmelo Anthony like they were planning on doing so until they hired a new general manager, because they waited until someone could be in charge of player personnel to handle their biggest decision, right? This feels like they should have waited for their next president of basketball operations to come in and decide what to do with FNM. Unless this was something that was in the work for 2 years and then just now has gotten just fired off, it just feels like a weird thing to do while no one is actually driving the ship.
Well, I don't know if you saw, but you know, Helen's very busy with her new writing gig over at Channel Fireball. Like, she's got a lot going on. Like, she just can't. I mean, she's living her best life right now, writing Pro Tour ballots. Just
It is terrific. It's one of those things that this is such a monumental change to what I've known as Magic. Whether I played Magic back in the 90s, left it, came back in the 2000s, some things don't change, and you really appreciate that. And that was weird that they didn't celebrate their 20th anniversary, but they're fixing it now. But that's part of it. It's good that some things are there and they're reliable and you know them. And maybe if you stop picking terrible cards, maybe if you promoted them the right way, maybe if you invested in entry rewards or invested in more rewards just for door prizes or for, you know, players who weren't doing that well, maybe that will help sort of bridge this gap other than literally exploding something you worked so long to build.
It definitely feels a lot like specifically a Microsoft-style model Chris Cox fingerprints deal. It definitely feels like this was a specific, this is a thing that I want to update to the modern era decision.
Yeah,
is what it feels like.
Yeah, this is 90s thinking, this whole promo thing for FNM. You know, and look how it doesn't matter whether it is a good promo or a bad promo or whatever. It doesn't matter the fact that we don't promote it or whatever. So anyway, so let's move on to this standard showdown thing, right? The land thing is, how long are you going to run that? How long do you think before I get an extra special rare land thing. I mean, look, you're going to be able to do the Sunflower Prairie, and maybe you're going to be able to do some like the Portal lands that were really cool, or the Portal 3 Kingdoms lands, which are really cool. I'm looking forward to that. I want those things. Those are going to be fun things, but eventually that land train's going to run out. Like, you're going to start stretching.
I still think, and I'm going to put on my tinfoil hat for this, and let me actually pose this as a question. Do you think that they would be doing any of this if we hadn't had the standard that we've had with the bannings, sets not being great? Do you think that we would still be having the FNM revamp? We would be having the standard showdown. We'd be having the open houses. This all feels like really desperate attempts to get people back to standard. Like, I honestly don't think any of this would have happened if we didn't have the bans and we didn't have everything else.
It's an interesting thought. I mean, it's certainly so. In terms of having the bans and having a more rare and mythic heavy standard in terms of things that you can't turn into promos, right?
Right.
In some sense, I agree with that. But on the other hand, I think that it's also like you're just bad at picking promos. Like, couldn't you have just made a Tune with Ether and FNM promo? Like, how hard would that have hurt? Right?
Yeah.
Right.
And so, on the one hand, I see your point. I definitely agree that having a worse standard, it makes it worse. But I think that having a worse standard or a more controversial standard or a more problematic standard makes everything worse across the board.
Well, I mean, what I was more saying was that these initiatives feel like attempts to woo people back, is what I'm saying. Like, sure. We're talking about how it's meant to fix an identity crisis and it's meant to do all of these great things. I actually think it's much simpler than that. I think it's really just sort of damage control of, no way, come play our format that we want everybody to play, that we're supposed to be making more of our money on, and that's why they're rolling out all these standard showdowns, these open houses, whatever. I don't think we'd be doing any of this if the last, 6 months to a year didn't happen.
Right. I mean, and it's been a hot mess. Like, it's been a really silly, crazy hot mess. And standard is how it's how Wizards makes their money most directly. You play standard, which means you need to buy packs, you need to buy singles. That market churns because you're playing that format. If you if you play an older format, almost by default, you're able to play with older cards that you don't have to rebuy. You don't have to get from packs anymore. You're trading for them, or you're buying them from the store who doesn't give any money to WotC at that point. They didn't have to pay Wizards to buy a box to open it to list a single. They've already got that from different buying and selling places. So it's tough on that, and it's weird because even at one point, it's like, bad promos. Like, is bad promos either attract players or they don't attract players? Like, good promos either attract players. Like, which is it? Because, like, you can't have it both ways. You can't say, well, the promos are bad, people showed up anyway. Well, the promos were good, people showed up anyway. Right. Well, it's like, well, okay. So
we've also talked about how FNM is like a promotion lost to time, similar to Grand Prix trials. Not nearly as bad as Grand Prix trials, but certainly FNM has sort of lost a little bit of its luster. Now that there are so many more events a week to go to, now that it's not as interconnected, either on purpose or by omission. Sure. Over the past decade or whatever. When I'm honestly not the guy to talk about how popular FNM is because I don't run a game store. I don't go to FNMs anymore. That's just not my life anymore. And so I don't have the demographics and the information. So maybe Wizards is right to be making all this. It just looks really weird.
Well, they won't show you any data, so who knows?
Right, and that's the other thing.
I feel like that's gotta stop.
When you don't get shown data, it's a problem.
They're already hiding more data with the decks, right? It's the same thing.
I feel like part of the backlash because this backlash was stronger than I thought it would be. Like, I didn't know so many people cared about FNM and promos over these past couple of days, and I feel like part of the backlash and part of that intensity, I feel like people are over this. They're over this whole "we can't tell you," and the fact that this came after all of the data withholding nonsense. I feel like to come from that and then to come to this, and it was just sort of more of "we can't tell you," more of "trust us." I feel like we talked about how standard has sort of lost confidence. People have lost confidence in standard lately. I feel like we're just getting to a point where we're tired of that. We're tired of being told "we can't tell you." We want more, damn it. And, we're going to start talking about games tonight even that give you more. And it's like, I think people were upset about the change genuinely, and they were upset about the announcement genuinely. But I think coming off of the nonsense from last week, people were like, really, like we're still here. And I think that's part of it too, is we're tired of the not being shown things or not being told things.
So in sort of, I guess it's weird because Wizards totally giveth and Wizards totally taketh away.
Yeah, they do.
Because when we go to gather the townsfolk, we're literally on the other side of the coin. We're going to be over here going like, hey, Wizards, you did a great job. You didn't screw it up. This is actually pretty sweet. Congratulations. You're not complete idiots like we thought like 2 days ago, which is totally weird. And there's not, huge screeds on how dumb all this is. But, so for gather the townsfolk.
Yes.
We're getting there. Magic Online, had the launch of Our Devastation, and it just went straight tater. I mean, it went straight to Taterville. Not past Tater.
Yeah. Ruben, were you a consultant on that effort?
I was just gonna say that's where I sent my internet. I'm done with my taters. I sent as many taters as I could to Renton, Washington, care of Magic Mike's.
Oh man, yeah. So please send all the taters there, because Magic Online. Can I just take a moment here? Could we stop charging people $10 for the the ability to play Magic Online? Can we stop that? Is that a thing you can turn off? Because that's terrible. You're like, you should play Magic Online, but first you have to give them $10, and you're like, I've given $0 to play virtually every other card game thing that I've touched in the past 5 years, and I still have to pay $10 to play Magic Online. That's weird.
Yeah, it is stupid.
Just saying, that's weird and bad, and you should fix that. Okay. However, we have an announcement article that is not crap and is, in fact, pretty freaking sweet. The Pro Tour and the Worlds for 2017-2018, the schedule itself is pretty spectacular. We're going to have Pro Tour Rivals of Ixalan February 2nd to 4th in Bilbao. I think it's
Bilbao.
Right? Bilbao, Spain.
In the Basque region.
Modern format.
Yes!
No,
yes!
That's still bad. That didn't stop being bad.
It didn't stop being bad.
That didn't stop being bad. I can't. Why are we doing this? Why is Wizards doing that?
I think it's beautiful. They banned Golgari Grave Troll, thinking that it would keep Dredge down, and now we can play Dredge on the highest level of play in front of cameras. We can spread the gospel to the masses. I am geeked.
It's so weird. It's going to be Rivals of Ixalan with basically maybe one Rivals of Ixalan card will show up in some deck maybe, and that one's definitely in the deck tech, by the way, because Wizards has to sell cards and they keep
it's
pushing
a small
standard.
set, and we're featuring Modern. So.
Exactly. It's just, why are we going backwards? It's so weird. Don't you?
Because Modern is huge right now. We've talked about
Modern is huge right now. The Modern FNMs are more popular.
Star City even cut down on the number of standard opens that they were hosting in order to accommodate the number of Modern opens, because Modern is consistently bringing more people. Sure. If you look at the price spikes even, you look at certain cards nowadays. I've been getting ready for the Modern PPTQs. Maelstrom Pulse is almost a $30 card now. Engineered Explosives is $60. All those cards, these cards are spiking because the demand for them has grown and there's so few of them left. And, you look at the classics, Modern Classics consistently draw more people. Modern is huge right now. And I think the culture changed a little bit from when they made the announcement saying that they weren't doing it. Modern is hot. You cannot deny that right now.
It's not that I'm denying it. It's about what is their company trying to do, right?
Right. And that's what I think is the big deal here is, what is the company trying to do by having a Pro Tour that has Modern in it? Are they trying to sell more packs, or are they trying to get more viewers?
Well, we've seen, 3 Modern Master sets so far? 3?
Sure.
We have Eternal Masters.
Going forward.
But that was an argument that we said, for a while. We say that they need to sell packs, and that's the reason why Standard is the set for the Pro Tour, so to speak. But I think they've shown that there are sets, and I don't know if we've seen the release schedule that far ahead. But who's to say that there couldn't be a Modern Masters release set around that time? Who's to say that there isn't some packs for people to open where they could still make money off those cards? I think that, again, the culture shifted a little bit since that first announcement, and I think that they can, in theory, make money off of it if they do it right.
Right.
You do have a point, I think, that we didn't actually consider, which was they're making more master sets. They're not making less of them. It used to be every other year. Now it's like 2 a year or something ridiculous. We're going to get master set after master set after master set. First of all, they like money. Second of all, they can charge you $10 a pack for it. So
I was just going to say, just like you said, you got to make something that doesn't cost $10 to immediately step in the door. It's $250 gosh darn dollars to run an 8-man draft of any master set.
Yeah.
I don't have that much money. said the straw man that I'm presently inhabiting. But I'm just saying, that's a lot more than going down to your local FNM, because your local FNM isn't really going to run a Modern Masters draft for you, right? Like,
I also think part of it is just simply acknowledging that it's happening. You know, we know that there's certain things Wizards just chooses not to talk about, like the secondary market and the reserve list. But I don't think you can deny that Modern is bigger than Standard right now. And I think that if they were to, you know, I don't think it's something they want to be doing. I think they wish they could just do Standard Pro Tours. But again, I think it does them more harm to sort of put their fingers in their ear and go la 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 la. You know, someone's going to be like, hello, like, do you not see these numbers? I think they have to concede that fact.
Absolutely.
I think that's okay. I think it's a little weird. We'll talk about the full schedule. Let's continue with the full schedule.
All right, let's keep going.
So then I'll give you my upset things about what the schedule is.
Angry reacts only.
First of all, Pro Tour Dominaria is going to happen June 1st through 3rd in Richmond.
We'll
Richmond?
talk about that. Yeah, in a second.
That's this year's Albuquerque is
Richmond. It's Richmond, Virginia.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Sure.
Bless their hearts.
There is a special Pro Tour 25th anniversary event that has team constructed August 3rd through 5th in Minneapolis. That is Standard, Modern, Legacy.
Yes.
Legacy at the Pro Tour. Ladies and gentlemen.
Taste it.
That's insane.
That's very crazy.
Love it.
I am excited to see what, like, you know, the best in the world now have the ability to look at Legacy and want to break it that much harder. And I hope to God they break it just in half. I hope something crazy comes out that no one has looked at, some weird interaction that just shows up out of nowhere, because, you know, that's the type of thing that when you give them a ridiculously large format that already has a pretty well established metagame, they know where to attack. They know what their enemy is.
It will be interesting giving the Pro Tour teams the permission to spend 2 weeks to try to break a format that pros typically don't try to break.
I don't hope they break it. I hope they all play Deathrite Shaman decks, and then the stakes go through the roof and Wizards bans its ass. That's what I hope.
Although I do remember the last time that Pro Tour testing teams really went at Legacy. It was at Worlds in Memphis when Legacy was part of the World Championships, and they came out of the tank with Bearscape Sylvan Library. It was one of the teams had. It was just I don't want to pay 4 life for a 2/2. It's not a thing. I'm not about that.
Can't make it. Not about that life.
I can't wait.
So there's a very super cool, the PT 25th anniversary has 3-person team, Standard, Modern, Legacy, team competition all 3 days. Now, for those who want to play on it, there's different ways you can get there. Well, first of all, you can do well on a PT team. These top 16 official Pro Tour teams, the official, you have to go through Wizards and register yourself. The top 16 teams after Pro Tour Dominaria get invites, and this means only the people on the team. You can't be like, hey, Brad Nelson, would you mind me and Rubes just kind of hang out with you at the Pro Tour?
Right, exactly.
And no, that's not going to work. The top 4 of all team GPs from January 6th through the 27th of next year. There's going to be Sunday PTQs at Grand Prix that'll feature team formats. A team RPTQ at 30 locations around the world. Silver, Gold, Platinum, Hall of Fame members, of course, can get there. If Silver wants to use their 1 invite, this is where they could go. 33 pro points or better after Pro Tour Dominaria. And, of course, Magic Online, screw you guys. You can't qualify. Go home. Also,
it's real tough to run team events on Magic Online, to be fair.
To be fair, and also play $10 so you can play.
Well, yeah.
However, here's something they just kind of dropped and ran. They just dropped it and it went off. They said, quote, this event will coincide with a special exhibition tournament which together, for the Pro Tour that gives $250,000, together will provide $1 million in prizes.
Hello.
Finally, we've gotten out of this weird, they used to give away more money in in the year 2000 than they do today.
Yep.
Yeah.
$1 million is $1 million, and that's pretty spectacular.
Nobody cares. I know from poker, very few people care about the total prize pool. Everyone cares about that number up top.
Yeah.
Or sorry, vice versa. No one really cares about first. Nobody really cares about what's up top.
Okay.
Because when you say the total number, that's a huge deal.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know, they've done that for the World Series of Poker for the last 5 years, whereas previously it was like 10 million to first, and then people were like, but that makes everything else worse. And now they're like, total prize pool of this number, and people are much happier about that. Whenever you see any gaming tournament advertised, it's always like $4 million in prizes, right? You don't see first prize gets this number as much. And so I definitely, that's another Chris Cox idea, I'm pretty sure, is the advertising, this is the number of and what it means kind of thing.
Sure. So
I just want to say I'm really glad that Pro Tour Spaghetti is not modern, because think of how terrible that would be if Eldrazi was like the girl. Like, no. Like, thank God.
Knees weak on the bed.
Wow. Wow.
There's vomit on their team uniforms already.
No.
Pro Tour Spaghetti.
Spaghetti.
Yes! Yes! We got
He's
there,
nervous,
fam!
but on the surface,
Okay.
He looks calm.
Okay.
he's calm, split card, calm, and ready.
Oh!
Okay.
No.
You felt enough of your oats tonight.
He's aftermath so hard. Okay.
Aftermath ready after you cast calm for calm and ready.
Well, on November 4th in Atlanta, we'll be Pro Tour Spaghetti, Mom Spaghetti.
To drop bombs, but he keeps on forgetting.
For God's sake.
The whole crowd goes loud and he opens his mouth.
Okay, two chatty co-hosts have...
Is he casting joke now?
No. Okay.
But he's joking now.
Woo!
The clock's run out. Give him one of those warnings that the judges give you when the clock runs out.
Okay, you're done.
Oh
you're
my
done.
God! All right, so the World Magic Cup's going to happen December 14th through 16th in Barcelona, Spain. Thank God that thing finally happens at the end of the year, because it was really weird when it kind of happened in like early October for some reason. Okay,
Yeah.
So that's cool, and those are all good, very good, positive things. That's awesome. Way to go, Wizards. This is literally just a 180 from whatever they're doing with FNM, which is kind of a dumpster fire right now, but it's fine. Next up is the changes.
Wait. I want to go over the schedule real quick.
Oh,
I
go
just
to the
have
schedule.
2 things to say about the schedule.
Okay.
One, we sort of joked about, which was Richmond. Okay, sure, why not? That's the Albuquerque for the schedule. But moreover, Bilbao, Richmond, Minneapolis, Atlanta. Boy, there are some great vacation destinations on that list. This is a weird, like, I don't know, man. That's a weird list. And also, I think it's a little odd that they put Modern in Bilbao and then Pro Tour Dominaria in Richmond instead of the other way around. Because you're more likely to get silver level pros from the United States to play in the Richmond Pro Tour if it's Modern rather than Standard.
Sure. Because
Standard is a more approachable format, especially for folks in Europe. Whereas Modern cards are obviously more difficult to get by, and Richmond is a much more centrally located city within the United States. I think that you're much more likely to have a larger Pro Tour Dominaria than you otherwise would have, and a much smaller Rivals of Ixalan than you otherwise would have, as opposed to the other way around, where it would sort of balance out.
Did you guys make it to the bottom of Elaine's post? Where she says, check back tomorrow to get a look at 2018's Grand Prix. So tomorrow we might have
oh boy,
we'll have more topics for next week.
We must have more topics, yeah, and hopefully they're not,
and that'll be
coal under our tree.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean,
sounds great.
Well, look, here's one of the things that if I had my druthers, if I was in charge, if I was fixing to have my druthers, hey y'all, and I was able to. And if I was able to do something like, if I was the head of organized play, here's what I would do. Here's one of the big changes that I would tell Wizards and would say, hey, because you hired me, this is what we're going to do now. We're going to stop going all over the world for Pro Tours. We're going to buy a building. We're going to make that thing insane. We're going to build a stage. We're going to build the feature match area. We're going to install lighting. We're going to install a stage. We're going to put in chairs.
They don't even have to. There's an esports arena already built in Columbus, Ohio, in Las Vegas, Nevada. I believe there's one in London.
Okay.
There are esports arenas that would fit 400 people perfectly.
Sure.
It would be exactly what you want. Right?
Right. It would be essentially, again, an area where you can say, this is where the Pro Tour happens. The Pro Tour happens here. They can improve it. It'll help with budgeting. Like, I get, and this is, again, one of those things from the 90s.
Where it happens.
Play the game, see the world. It's 2017, okay? We have all the internets. We have all the GoPros. I can go all over the world now. I can Google Maps literally anywhere on this planet. Just tell us where to go because it will save you on airfare. You can make deals with airlines. It'll save you on hotels. You can make a deal with hotels. You can make all that stuff happen. You can increase the price pool. You can have Wizards R&D there every single time. You don't have to take people out of the city. I understand, but like, look at where we're at, man. Richmond, Albuquerque, this is your seeing the world. This is ridiculous. Right. There's not even one in Japan.
It is a little weird that we're going to have 2 of the 5 major Pro Tour and World Championship events in Spain next year. And we've had, it's Barcelona and Bilbao, right?
Yeah.
And no shade to Spain.
No shade to Spain.
Spain's fine.
Well, we've had we've had no top-level events in the city of Los Angeles in the past 10 years. We haven't had a world championship in California since 2011. Like, what are we doing?
It's really weird to me. And again, this is one of those things that I think this is part of the old thinking that needs to go away. This is it used to be about all these destinations. You're not really going to destinations anymore. And that's weird. We're not back in
I get it.
Yeah, I mean, and that's fine, but like, make your own convention center, make it nice, make sure that you're right there in the heart of it. You know, have everybody from the company available to go there and hang out and talk to people, and take them into Wizards HQ if you needed to for whatever reasons. Like, when everyone's there, that's the benefits that you get. Ugh. Right. It's just, that's one of those things.
All right, so we talked about how we weren't throwing any shade at Spain, but I want to throw a little shade here. Okay. So, am I the only one that...
Get ready, Spain!
Yeah!
No, not even at Spain. This is so not about Spain. But am I the only one that kind of raises a little bit of an eyebrow when you see certain people who work for Wizards and they're like, I'm on my way to the Pro Tour, and you're like, what are you doing at the Pro Tour? Like, why do you need to be there? Like, what?
And that speaks to
another... I'm not the only one who feels that way. Like,
no, you're definitely right. But
like, there's definitely people I would classify as essential personnel, and then there's other people where I'm like, are you making coffee? Like, what's going on here? Like, I don't...
You don't know what your appendix does. Maybe it's necessary. Right? You're trying to send... This is a thing I was going to reference earlier, which when Evan and I think it was just Evan, was just like, yeah, Wizards did something great, but then they do something stupid like this. And it's like, well, Wizards isn't one being. It can all be different people. Like, these 3 people could have made a stupid decision, and these 3 people could have made a great decision.
Right.
And that's another thing that's going on here, and also speaks to your issue of like, why are you going to the Pro Tour? What could you possibly be doing at the Pro Tour that would help? It speaks to that same issue. That Wizards of the Coast isn't just a subsidiary of Hasbro, but it itself is a major corporation with a lot of moving parts.
Oh yeah.
So I'm not sure, calling back to an even earlier thing, I'm not sure that the badness of Standard led to the FNM program changing. That can, because I think that that's just an issue of the left hand not knowing what one of the hundreds of right hands was doing.
Right. Well, that's because the play design people are now going to fix everything, even though we still don't know what play design does. What did they do? Can someone tell me what they do, where they do it, when they do it in the process? No one's told me.
It's going to be Pro Tour Ixalan. They're going to fix it.
No. All right.
And
so
Rivals of Ixalan.
Wow.
We did it again.
Yeah.
All right.
My
Call
Lord.
that.
Oh God. All right. So we're going to keep moving
nobody
here.
else is here. High five. Okay.
Yeah, that's the only one. So Wizards last year had kind of an issue when they tried to change the Pro Club into #PayThePros, and they tried to change benefits that people work towards totally to something different, and then they're like, wait a minute.
Of the year, Pay the Pros.
It was the hashtag of the year. In fact, it got a Magic Mikesy. For something that was so dumb you couldn't really handle it. Okay, so now they've got the freedom to change stuff because they said they're changing stuff. Here's how they're going to change it. They're going to move into cycles of essentially from set release to set release. And there's
cross promotion.
I know, right? And so they're going to have 4 of those, essentially a year, but it can be a little flexible. 4 cycles lining up with 4 releases each year. The last 4 cycle points count rolling forward. So that means, the last 4 will happen now, and then when the new set comes out, we'll just kind of, move chunk over to the next 4 with that one included. And so on and so forth, which is fine. It's interesting that there is now a maximum of 3 events that count for each cycle. So you get 3 events out of between set release to set release to do as good as you can, whether it's Pro Tour, whether it's Worlds, whether it's whatever. You know, if it's a Grand Prix, then that's great. They will take whatever your 3 highest scores are, and that's going to be counting for that cycle. You have levels are going to change each cycle. At the end of every time there's a set release, somebody who's a platinum could be a gold. Somebody who's a gold could be a nothing. You know, like there is the possibility that they just fade back in and up in the train, and that's really weird to me. I feel like it could be a little too swingy, but okay, whatever. And it's touted as being less swingy, but we'll get to that. There's now a bronze level. Now there used to only be silver, gold, and platinum. Now there's a bronze level, and they're going. It is in effect starting right now, where any player who gets at least 10 pro points in a season, they grant it to all the people who've made 10 to 19 pro points this season. They get an RPTQ invite, they get 1 bye at Grand Prix, and they get a Nationals invite, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah,
that's fine. All good. If for any reason you win a pro club status, whether you won a pro tour or the world championships or you get the rookie of the year or whatever it happens to be, you're automatically going to get that status for 4 full cycles, also known as for the year moving forward, which is great.
Right, because you don't want to be player of the cycle. Spring 2013. That sounds stupid. Player of the year needs to keep being a thing.
It's right. Well, it's kind of like what they're doing now a little bit with the player of the year, you know, because like every week it does that shift thing. And
if we name it player of the cycle spring 2013, I'm done. I can't do it anymore.
Oh God, not pro player of the cycle. That's disgusting. It's weird to me that the thresholds are not changing because the threshold points crack me up. Now there's bronze at 10. There's silver at 20. There's gold at 35, and there's platinum at, wait for it, 52. Why is it 52? Why?
Math, because math.
Because math. Because they ran an algorithm. I get it.
That's where it is.
Oh my God.
I don't.
It's hilarious.
It's really strange to me. Such a weird number. I know that they've been mathing this thing for years and years and years, and now they're totally changing it, and they're not changing these numbers. And humans in general don't like weird stuff, like why is there a 2 at the end of this number instead of like a 0 or a 5?
That's like when somebody's sitting next to me and turns the television up to an odd number. I just can't. I can't do it.
Nope. Nope. I can't either. I thought I was the only one who felt that way.
No, I can't. If it's at 51 on the television volume, I have to get up and change the volume.
Wow. Now,
see, I have to do it in 5 increments. It's got to be either 50 or 55.
Okay, 5s are fine. I can't. Yeah, I can't do a 53. I can't do a 53 or a 57. A 55 is okay.
Yeah.
Sure, and I can appreciate the fact that essentially, you know, there used to be the first Pro Tour was very important, was super crazy important. Like if you're going to get your season kicked off right, you better do well at that first Pro Tour. And if you don't, oh God, you feel bad and it's bad and oh my God, this is awful. And there's the other side of this, which is your pro points all go away when the season ends. And one Jerry Thompson, future Pro Tour champion, flew, I think it was to Italy, to compete in a Grand Prix to try to get his last few points to get to, I think it was platinum at the time, and he missed by like 1. He missed by like 1 or 2, and it was such a huge dagger. And he worked so hard to get there. You know, when you try your best and you don't succeed, you know what I'm saying? You know, there's Coldplay wrote a whole song about it, but the point is, it was bad, and this does reduce some of that feel bad. It does feel a little weird to me that every single set release, every single cycle, there's going to be some huge shakeups in terms of what you get and what you're supposed to be getting, and that's a little weird to me. But how do you guys feel at this point about, you know, pay the pros the right way?
Sure. Correctly employ the pros. I think that there's a couple of good things that I wanted to highlight. One is bronze level. Is a necessary thing that has been a long time coming. I'm super excited they named it bronze level because that was always the inside joke with the pros. Was
Shout
that,
out to Daniel Fournier, who's like the original bronze level pro. He's had that on his Twitter bio for ages.
Daniel Fournier, Paul Cheon was always the honorable mention bronze level pro. You know, folks, I think that Corey Baumeister made a little dig at himself about it. I think that this is a necessary step where it's not a complete drop-off after you're done at silver and you get nothing and like it when you're at 19 points, right? And that's a really big deal for a lot of folks. There are more silver level pros than there are platinum pros. I get that there's more money up at the top, but
sure,
you know, that number of bronze is going to be a big group of folks. And so I think that that's a great change to make. I also like the division into smaller bits. For specifically for the folks that are Grand Prix grinders, the current, like the most recent version of earning pro points meant that only your top like 5 GP results mattered. You could only use 5, and so it was disadvantageous to be the GP grinder. You know, the Christian Calcano, the Shuhei Nakamura, the guy that goes to literally every GP. And now it's slightly lessened. You know, you can still go. This new version lets you go to more events, basically, and lets their top grinders play more Magic, which I think is a good step.
It's weird to me that only Platinum Pros get a complimentary sleep-in special at all the Grand Prix. Wizards, this is not that big of a deal, and this is not that big of a perk. Could you give it to, like, at least the silvers and up? Like, this isn't expensive for the organizer, and it's a little silly to deny people that you give buys to the ability to get a free sleep-in special. That's weird to me. Honestly, you could just give it to everybody. It's just,
do Gold Pros still get 3 buys, right?
Yes, but they do not get a complimentary sleep-in special, which is absurd. Which is ridiculous.
That's a weird hill to die on. I'll give you that one. It's the Gold Pros get the 3 buys, Platinum Pros get the 3 buys, and some extra naps.
Got them extra snoozies in there. You'll get a few winks on Wizards.
Exactly.
I mean, come on, seriously, it's silly. And for constructed events, it's just dumb. Okay, they're literally they're just holding people and collecting their deck list later. That is literally your sleep-in special sometimes. Come on now, guys. That's a little silly and ridiculous. But you know, when Wizards breaks out the charts, you know, when they have their graphic designer lay stuff out in the thing, you know it's serious. You know they're getting real when they have charts. That's
charts, though. They don't got the GIF action going on in these charts. They don't got the moving blocks.
I wish we had GIFs.
Explain it. Right.
Yeah, that'd really work on it. So we got to keep moving here. And with a little bit, there were some details that were leaked. I'm not exactly sure how, but I saw it on Twitter, so it had to be true. But and it certainly read clear enough that it was a real thing. That there were some details on the HasCon collection.
Right, I saw this.
That were unveiled. These are very exciting because the HasCon collection is the first time where we're making Magic cards that aren't necessarily about Magic. That's really sweet. We now know the 3 brands that will consist of this HasCon collection. Which is it's going to be, first of all, 3 silver bordered cards and a token.
Love it.
It's going to be Dungeons and Dragons.
Love it.
Nerf.
Fabulous.
And Transformers.
Excellent.
So we're going to have a D&D card, a Nerf card, and a Transformers card in Magic, a thing with a Magic the Gathering back on it. And it's
and the D&D card is going to be Sword of Dungeons and Dragons, which is perfect.
Which is amazing. It includes the exclusive version of Sword of Dungeons and Dragons with accompanying gold dragon token from Unstable that releases in, December? So...
Yeah. You mean they're not giving you sort of buy 10 donuts and your 11th is free? So this is the one at the Dunkin' Donuts Center, right?
It was the Dunkin' Donuts Center, yes.
So the sword, my headcanon version of the Sword of Dungeons and Dragons is we've had protection from all the colors. So Sword of Dungeons and Dragons will give you protection from colorless and multicolored, which is why you get the gold dragon token, because it itself will be multicolored in some way.
Wow.
Like the text will be, this is multicolored.
I mean, the Nerf card has to be an equipment, right?
I would certainly hope so.
I'd hope so, yeah.
Right.
But then the Dungeons and Dragons card's also an equipment, so maybe they're all equipment.
Maybe they are. I mean, maybe the
Transformers has to be a vehicle, right?
Well, no. The Transformers card has to transform.
Oh, sure. Hopefully it's a vehicle that transforms into a creature.
Yes. Yes.
That would be the way to go.
Please make Optimus
I feel like
Prime.
I should have a witty response to this, but I don't.
It has crew too, but when it's crewed by 10 or more, transform it or something ludicrous like that.
Please, I don't
that'd
care.
be.
Oh
yeah.
As a boy who grew up watching Transformers and loving all things Optimus Prime, and even the first movie wasn't that bad until
I'm being told that protection from colorless will make whoever equips it drop the sword.
Well,
so that's embarrassing.
Maybe the sword's colored or something, and it's silly. I don't know.
I mean, you were busy watching Transformers, Evan. I've been busy living it. I mean, come on.
Wow.
Hashtag Transformers Mafia is what that is.
Oh, it's so good. You almost better spin
Good
that.
one. Good one.
That was terrific. I still don't know. if like it's good, but is it $600? You know, special
Nope.
treatment good?
I'll tell you what, Wizards of the Coast. If you want us to hawk your product, give us either the Nerf or the No, just give us the Transformers preview. That's the only one I'll accept. Hashtag Transformers Mafia. If you want us to like your idea of $600 HasCon tickets,
Woo!
I mean, I'm already on board with this sort of Dungeons and Dragons idea because I think it's adorable.
Yeah,
But if you want me to be the company yes man, I will do it. But the cost is we get to preview this
For
Transformers card.
$600, I better be sharing spaghetti with Reed Duke a la Lady and the Tramp. That's what I better get for $600. There better be one bowl, two of us.
There better be vomit on your sweater
arms
already.
are heavy. Reed and I sharing mom's spaghetti.
No.
Oh my god, it's so good. It's so good.
Although
so
I'm currently not speaking to Reed right now.
Why not?
why's
He
that?
doesn't know it and couldn't care less. But so Channel Fireball sometimes tweets these little like observations from some of their people, specifically when it comes to new cards. Where Frank Carson will be like, "This card's really great. Like here are some numbers to back it up." And then like Andre Strosky will be like, "I think this is a great blue card." Well, Reed decided to tweet about that little scavenger land, that desert that like eats graveyards. And he specifically said, "Dredge players beware." That's like throw your clothes on the lawn to me.
I think what that is called is he puts you on blast. I believe that is the correct term.
So I'm not speaking to him right now. I'm like, because if he doesn't know it and couldn't care less, but we're totally fine.
Spaghetti's run out. Time's up. It's over. Wow. Yes, I do have the lyrics up in front of me.
Dude,
in case.
Are you Rebeminem tonight?
Yes, Rubeminem.
Rubeminem? There you
Rubeminem?
go.
Ruben
Rubeminem.
Mathers.
We got
It's
there.
the Ruben Mathers LP.
Wow. Wow. So
Ruben,
good.
I would listen to your album for free on Spotify.
With the real Slim Ruby. All right, that's enough of that. That's enough.
Ruby is
It's enough.
great.
Too much. I am wearing the trucker hat and it's going to my head.
You gotta stop it. You gotta stop it before it's too much. You gotta make them want more, and then cut it off.
There goes Solemnity. That's fabulous.
What?
Oh, there goes Solemnity.
Wow.
Was brought to us by the chat.
I can't.
So good.
Wow.
All right.
So
We're done. I'm good.
It's good. We're good. We're gonna move on here to splash damage. Now, we've talked a lot, and I think it was even just this past week, about Wizards and data and not sharing data, and why isn't there data, and wouldn't it be nice to have data? So why don't we look at what I would describe as the far, far extreme?
Oh my God, this is beautiful.
If
It's
Wizards,
amazing.
if
Hashtag
Wizards,
data, beautiful.
the hashtag, this is definitely the data is beautiful subreddit. All right, so there is a link. I'm going to go ahead and put it in the chat so you guys can check it out. And there's a place called Vicious Syndicate.
Look at all the colors.
And they have, and I'll bring it up
My
here on
God,
the screen.
it's full of stars.
It's full of data. And it's full of so much data. They have like 2,200 people who have installed something on their machine who report back literally everything that happens. And they now can crunch 60,000 games. 60,000 games of Hearthstone into this data that we see now. We see the exact archetypes. We see the win percentage. We see the metagame breakdown. We see the metagame breakdown over time. We see the exact, like, whether players who are really good are playing this or really bad are playing that. We see the class frequency played by day. By
week.
day. That's insane. Can you imagine?
And this is Hearthstone, where the metagame moves so much faster as a result of
They
it
even
being
tell you win
exclusively
rates.
online. Yeah.
I mean, the win rates against literally everything, good and bad. The power rankings, which go down to like the double decimal to see what is moving when and where and how much. This is literally the utopia that we talked about of if we had all the data for a format, this is what you can do with it. This is how you can crunch it. This is the stuff. This is the goodness. This is the things that people would pay to see, like would actually say, I would pay money to see literally everything. This is what we should be seeing after every standard rotation. Wizards, let us see what happened. And not even, okay, look, again, maybe it's going to affect the standard. So show us last year's standard in this format. You don't want to do the data crunching? I assure you, if you gave someone the ability to get to this data, they would crunch it for you, and we would see something like this, and it would be absolutely mind-blowing. It would be unbelievable how cool, like, the power rankings of this card, literally the best card of the format. They could literally tell us the best card of the format. I mean, how cool would that be? We just don't have it, and it's okay if we know it, and it's freaking me out that we kind of keep going back to this well of Wizards data. More data is not going to ruin Magic. It's not going to hurt you guys. I know it feels like it is, but you had Saffron Olive write an entire article where he was just like, look, Wizards is literally explaining the definition of insanity to everyone. They keep doing the same thing over and over. They keep pulling back the data, and if they can just take all the data away, and then here's what they do, which they literally just did with the FNM announcement. They use that wall of you can't see what's really happening to justify changes.
Nope.
That's what they use. They say, well, look, we can't show you the numbers, but you just gotta trust us. Well, you know what?
Right.
We're Magic players, and you got to do a little bit more than that, okay? You got to go you got to go another bridge a little bit further than for us to say, hey, you've literally done nothing but pull back and put walls up and say no and say there's nothing that we can do here. And, you know, now you're like, well, we have all the data, so you let us know, you trust us, we're doing this, it's real, it's good. And it's stuff like this where you see the exact opposite. Hearthstone isn't dying from this. Hearthstone's not hurting. I don't want to play Hearthstone any less because I know that. In fact, I want to play it more. I know what the best deck is. If I care about the best deck, I can play it. If I care about a certain faction or a certain class or whatever, I know what the best deck is in that class. I know which format appeals to me based on those types of factors. And it's okay to have that information. And here's why I think they don't do it. And here's why I think they wouldn't want to. And I know it sounds a little weird, but I honestly think it's a little bit related to ego. And like shame, where like if this type of data got out and it showed that like the format was bad, if it showed that this thing was better than everything else and it was tier 1 and everything else was tier 2 and it was just not close, it was just affinity all over again, Aetherworks Marvel just completely ruined the format, and here's all the charts that show it ruined the format. They can't change it. Now, Hearthstone can let you dig all this data and crunch everything 8 ways to Sunday, and then they go like, oh, we want that card to cost 1 more, and they can just do that. And there's multiple times in here where they say, like standard changes happen, and this one deck that was big was like, brrr. I mean, it just died. They can do that dynamically. So I understand that part of like the pride, the ego, not wanting to feel like, oh man, we screwed it up, and here's the mathematical, like literal, proof of how we screwed it up is a thing. So I can see that angle of it, but not being able to see the historical data just kind of blows my mind.
Yeah, it is. I mean, first of all, kudos to Vicious Syndicate, who kicked off this whole delicious rant of yours. It's a gorgeous website. If you folks do play Hearthstone, I used to go to Vicious Syndicate quite a bit a while ago, back when I was more serious into Hearthstone. They've been around for a while. They're on Patreon, so you can support them through Patreon. You can buy their merchandise. They got some sick logos, even if you don't play Hearthstone. And they put in a ton of work. I mean, just look at this data. Like,
and this is all user contributed. Like, this doesn't look like anything official. Not that it needs to be, but it's like these are people that look like they do it just because they love the game and on their time and on their dime. And
I love that their tagline, the tagline for this website is Vicious Syndicate, strength in numbers.
Nice.
Hello.
Just perfect. It's so good. So yeah, I definitely, if the Magic the Gathering community had the Reaper report, which is the weekly Tuesday that the Vicious Syndicate puts out, it would be tough for me to say it wouldn't. I mean, it would be definitely different. I don't know what would happen to Magic, because what Vicious Syndicate does is like so far beyond what I used to do with too much information. Like, so far beyond any of the stuff that we have even access to right now, even what MTG Goldfish is doing right now. It would be tough to say what it would do to the game, partially because, Hearthstone, Hearthstone can take this dynamic data and then update their cards in real time if there's a problem. Magic can't do that. They can't be like, we're recalling all of your Heart of Kirans like they're Toyota 4Runners with a gas leak, and then sending them all back out when we're done with them. You can't do that with Magic cards. It's just not a thing that's going to happen. So it's tough for me to know exactly if this is the flood of information style we want, but certainly I would want to try. Like, what's... Yeah. I mean, so the worst case scenario of Wizards of the Coast having a Vicious Syndicate break down all of the numbers, to me, isn't a bad enough scenario where you prevent even the slightest little bit of data mining from happening. That's my initial impression.
Can we talk about how this also gives people another way to contribute to their community? You know, like we have writers and we have podcasters and we have streamers, but if I'm understanding this correctly, you know, there's 2,400 active contributors to the Data Reaper project. So these are people that just sort of let this mod run or this add-on run or whatever it is that they do. And I really like that it gives people a way to contribute that isn't just content creation. You know, I hear that from people all the time that are like, well, I'm not a good writer, I'm not really entertaining, but I still want to give back to Magic somehow, and they don't really know how. And so I think that this is a really great way that you can do that, where you're like, I just play a lot. Yeah. And I think that's awesome. And I think that there's so much that me, as somebody who isn't able to play very much because of the videos that we do in my work schedule, that I can't always practice. I can't always play test. And so to give people who just do nothing but play, you know, something to do that can help other people and isn't content as we know it, I think is also really awesome. And I think that's something, again, we don't really have here, where it's, what do you do? I just play all day. There's really nobody who does that and shares that information and contributes like this.
Right. And I mean, even when MTG Goldfish had, you know, they were publishing their articles of like, you know, 28,000 games of Modern, you know, analyzed or whatever, they didn't have these types of charts. They didn't have this type of data. They didn't crunch that hard because they only had a certain amount of data to work with anyway. They didn't have all of it. They didn't have sort of every single player, every good player. They didn't have things like an ELO rating. Can you imagine, just like this one says, from rank 1 to 5 and rank 6 to 15 or whatever, if we had ELO 1700 and above played this, and ELO, you know, 1699 and below played that. Like, that's a way that you can crunch this number and slice and dice it and see more interesting things about player data interaction, you know, decks interaction, you know, deck power, card power. All these things could be there, and because, you know, we love Magic, we want to see those things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, this is a careful what you wish for scenario, because as much as we want this, I don't think we're ever going to get it. And so the three of us are free to be like, yeah, having this would be 100% positive and nothing bad could ever happen. And then there's going to be no repercussions for us because it'll never actually happen, right? Sure. This is having a track-o-bot, which is what they use at Vicious Syndicate, to algorithmize every opponent's deck from these 2,400 users, is just not a feasible thing for Magic Online.
Well, to be clear, I'm not saying that nothing bad would happen. I'm simply saying that what they've been doing so far, I don't think is working anymore. And I think that, you know, the common thread in all of the issues we've brought up this episode has been that that's been the excuse. The we know and you don't and you need to trust us. I think that that's just a generational shift that needs to happen. I'm sure there will be consequences and there will be ramifications, but I think it's just better than what we're doing right now. Like, I think it's just a really dated way of doing things, and we can't keep doing this.
What we're doing right now is like the water pump at the beginning of the Dark Tower. It's like there's very little water, and what Vicious Syndicate has is a fire hose. And what we want is somewhere in between. I want like a steady stream of information, not like begging for scraps, and not way too much that I'm drowning. Right?
And not literally saying we're. And not literally saying we're going to manipulate the data so that we show you different things.
Thank you.
Even though everyone is doing the same thing. And for me, the way that I would pitch that is I would say, let's do it to older formats. Let's do it to last year's standard or a standard 2 years ago. Give them everything. See what they can do with it. What do people? What would people actually do if you set up a JSON or a database that they could download of, like, you know, I don't know, 100,000 matches or something, like something crazy. Like, let them have at it. See what they could do. And if they don't do anything with it, and we don't really find anything out, and it seems kind of stupid and dumb, and even if we had the live data, it would be the same stupid, dumb, you know, things that they got out of it, then sure, then everyone else is wrong. But you keep constricting, and eventually you're not getting anywhere, and it's weird.
It is fascinating to me that this episode has had a really interesting dichotomy to me, which is, we want more information, we want more information, we want more information, we won't give you more information, we won't give you more information, we won't give you more information, just clashing at each other. It seems like, so along those lines, maybe Chris Cox someday will get to this topic and be like, this is not the Microsoft way of doing things. and be like, information is power, and let's give the players more power.
All right, so we have reached the end of our contest for an 8X set of bronze Chaos draft boxes, won by Mr. Jason C. from Claremont, Florida. Hey, buddy.
Nice. You can just drive them over.
Nearby. Yeah, buddy. I can stop by. We can draft up. Be great.
There you go.
Jason C. rather. I don't want to say their name because I'm not necessarily going to share that. But Jason C. from Claremont, Florida. Hit us up on YouTube. Hit me up on Twitter. We'll figure out a way to get you these. No problem. Congratulations. Thanks to CoolStuffInc.com for providing these prizes. You guys go check out those Chaos draft boxes.
Absolutely.
On CoolStuffInc.com. I'm posting a link in the chats. There'll be a link in the description for those who are listening to us on the podcast. And I hope you like those things because I've been working really hard these last couple weeks, basically figuring out what do we do next because, wow, you guys really loved it.
Yeah.
It was great.
I think I had an idea, by the way, that I wanted to share on the podcast as opposed to during the Patreon, which is I think that we should have a reach goal. Once we do our team GP, right, that's still one of our reach goals. But after that, we can do a chaos draft with the three of us.
Oh man.
Insane. So we're going to turn the corner to the finisher. And last week, Bob of Bob's Dugout led a masterclass in how best to burn every possible bridge on your way out the door from having WPN status. Never have I ever seen it.
This was so good.
Now
it was a sight to behold.
It was beholden. Now, in the past, we've talked about stores losing WPN status from not having enough in-store space or not running enough events a week, but never before have we had the reason be the owner go off on a good old-fashioned racist tirade. To quote Mr. Dugout himself, God help me, quote, Watsy kicked me off because of something I said in my store, if you can believe that, exclamation mark. No freedom of speech here in Jew-America. I am still in shock and anger and disbelief, but it's true, end quote.
Same. I am still in shock and anger and disbelief.
That's a hashtag right there. It is hashtag Jew-America.
Hashtag Jew-America, y'all. Now, that escalated pretty quickly. So, my Jew-American co-hosts.
Present
and accounted for.
Yeah.
If your store was to be denied WPN status, how would you make your less than graceful exit in your Facebook post? Ruben?
Well, friends, I have some bad news concerning Mox Ruby comments in the game. Those creepy peanut butter and pineapple on pizza haters over at Watsy kicked me out for not having the right opinions on food. Don't at me. And if you are going to at me, come at me.
That's right. Come get some. Aaron?
Well, I have a brief announcement to make about the Estrus Game Store. I want to thank all my loyal customers for sticking by me during this difficult time. But Watsy has revoked my WPN status. I'm sorry. I don't care what the rules say, but I simply cannot abide allowing sideboards and tournaments.
It's just not okay.
No.
Right.
Game ones are nothing at all.
Game one's the only game in town that we care about. Period. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Orange Incorporated is no longer going to be able to run WPN events. Watsy kicked me off because of something I said in my store. If you can believe that, bottom line is there's no freedom of speech here in Comic America. I am still in shock and anger and disbelief, and I don't care if no one wants it, but damn it, just let me go back to my feudal Japan plane. That's all I want. Can we go there? Hashtag Comic America.
Unbelievable.
Oh my goodness.
Comic America.
There you go.
Nowadays, everybody wants to talk like they got something to say, but nothing comes up.
Okay.
And you're tatering at the same time. We are tatering while we're doing the more M&M things.
Not my fault this time.
Before we go, Ruben, I have to ask you one more food question to see if I can judge you on.
Okay.
You determined you're a monster because you're peanut butter and pizza choices.
Yeah.
Do you put ketchup on your hot dogs?
Heavens no.
Lord God, no. What is wrong with you people?
What is wrong?
I love ketchup on hot dogs.
No!
You're demonstrably wrong.
I'm pretty terrible.
That's stupid.
Oh my God. All right. So that ends another episode of Magic Mike's. Thank you for joining us here to discuss all things Magic. Thank you, Aaron.
Catch up with you later.
Jesus Christ. Thank you, Ruben. He is out, ladies and gentlemen. The tater has left the room. We are going into our final slide. I want to thank our sponsors, CoolStuffInc.com, and our awesome patrons, my co-hosts, Aaron Campbell and Ruben Bressler. You guys for watching and hope you support us at patreon.com/magicmics. Visit our website at magicmikespodcast.com that exists thanks to our Patreon supporters. Or follow, like, tweet, favorite, share, subscribe to everything social that tells people that we exist. Catch us online at twitch.tv/magicmics, on Twitter at magicmikescast, and on Reddit at reddit.com/r/magicmics, and on Facebook at facebook.com/magicmics. Talk to us privately at magicmikespodcast@gmail.com. Follow the audio-only podcast at magicmikespodcast.libsyn.com, or find us on iTunes, or join us here next week, same time, same place, for another episode of Magic Mikes. Good night, everybody.